up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Host Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 10.13, Handcuff Solutions, where we are covering the novel Death Masks. My name is Tanzan, and I am joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
A-wop baba-loo-bop, a-wop bamboo, tutti-frutti. We want to send a special shout out and a thank you to Cody Killebrew for buying us a pint on Patreon. By supporting us at this level, Cody now has exclusive access to episode outtakes, our special Discord community, and even our official McAnally sticker. A huge thank you to Cody for his support. If you'd also like to grab us a pitcher, pint, or sampler to get loads of fun perks and exclusive merchandise, check out our Patreon channel today.
Chapter 15. Harry goes to Michael's to speak with him about the duel. He finds the home suspiciously empty. While investigating from the treehouse, he is found by Molly, and eventually Charity comes home from errands. On Charity's word, Shiro offers to act as Dresden's second in the duel.
So he goes to bed, but bad dreams as usual. Although, you know what, Harry? If you keep taking those ice cold showers right before you go to bed, not that surprised. And I guess that's one reason why I could never ever be a wizard, or else I would be one of those super duper necessity mother of invention wizards, because I could not live my life with cold showers. Not in fucking Chicago.
You know, I always thought I took
no winter.
really hot showers. Apparently, no, I take cold showers and didn't know it.
Listen, ice baths are a thing right now. They're a popular thing right now. It's like this whole
But that's by choice.
improve
When and
your
if.
mood, relieve pain, just like positivity in the world.
Circulation, whatnot.
Yeah, but not when you're fucking cold and it's freaking cold out there, and you know what I mean? That's yeah, if you need to do it for medical reasons or whatever. Why are you? Is it because you made noise?
Yep.
Yeah, I get sports guys and stuff do whatever, that's fine. But I want access to a hot shower when I need a hot shower. And the fact that you have to at all I get there's times he's joked about it being convenient, when he gets all hot and bothered and he's like, well, I can just go take a cold shower. But I'm like, no, Chicago in the middle of winter, where I live in the middle of winter, no, sure, summer, love a cold shower sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sleeping in my bedroom. I'd be sleeping at the hearth every day.
Hearth?
No, I don't like that pronunciation.
Well, hearth sounds dumb. It sounds too close to hearse, which is, you could easily pass
I've
for a
been saying
corpse.
hearth this whole time.
No, it's hearth.
I don't like that.
Hearth and home. Hearthstone.
No thanks.
I think she's got you
Hestia
on
of
this
the
one.
hearth.
No,
It is 100% hearth.
I don't like it.
But now that you keep saying it over and over again, you're both wrong.
Up until that last time, the 75th was too
I
many.
would be sleeping right in front of the fire, on the carpet, on the ground.
You are like a cat.
Yes.
Heat source curls up.
Yeah,
She
well.
is. She's finicky. She's got a major attitude.
It's a good thing I've noticed that a lot of our people in the Discord
Are cat
people. No wonder they like you so much.
That's the only reason.
I'll take it.
Thinks she's queen of the world and we should all do whatever she wants. She doesn't have a birthday. She has a birth month.
Yeah.
Although I have to admit, it was really funny because she was telling me on the way over that her roommate is like, oh, a package came, you got a birthday present. And then it was like something else, and he was like, oh, not a birthday present. And then like something she'd ordered for me came, and your roommate's like, oh, you got a package, it's a birthday present. She's like, oh, not a birthday present. And then it's like something else came, it was a birthday
I got
present.
some board games from Space Mole Games. Not a birthday present.
Yeah, and it's like, so all this time, her roommate's like, oh, somebody sent you a present. And she's all like, oh, no, it's just this. Or
Multiple packages this month have not been a birthday present.
Although that one could kind of sort of, except that we got copies too, but I mean, that could kind of be like a birthday present. You got the game.
Sure.
But the other things like weren't for you. They were things you got for
I
like
can
other
keep one of them, but I had to give away the other ones.
You did, but isn't it like in the olden days or like, I don't know, rich people or like high society or class or something where you have a birthday party and like you give presents to other people instead of bringing it for you?
You know, the episode we're recording right now is going to come on a day after my birthday.
Cha-ching!
So y'all missed it.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
You live in a zoo.
Yeah.
You look like a monkey.
That's rude.
And you act, smell, look like one too.
It's very rude. I really lost it at the end there.
No comment.
That's okay.
Impolite.
Tradition, for anybody who's not familiar with it, tradition in our family is, or like not my extended family, but like mine and my children's. Arrogant Worms, happy birthday song. Have a listen.
How could I
My mother did not appreciate it the one year I sent it to her. Duly
Boring.
noted. I know. I was like,
I do recall the first time you ever
funny.
played that for me. I was like, huh.
Okay. I play it for everyone all the time, too.
yeah,
a good song.
Like, it's funny. Anyways, so yeah, Harry has a cold shower, which I would hate to have to do. Goes to bed, has bad dreams. So
Yeah.
kind of get it.
I mean, it's a pretty stock dream for him. Like a
Yeah.
pretty woman he fails to rescue, and then he ends up in a deadly kiss with Susan.
Right, blood, flames, things like that. So it sounds typical, like you say.
Thematic.
Thematic for him, but also the same sort of slightly random, but pulled somewhere from your subconscious, like many of us have. You know, like again, right? Dreams are. But then the last bit, you know, it does make you. So he's like a woman that seemed familiar, but whom I did not recognize. Shook her head, drew her hand from left to right. Dream scenery faded to black in the wake of her motion. She turned to me, dark eyes intent, and said, "You need to rest." So it's like. Was this part of the dream, or was this like someone coming along and being like, you don't have time to relive all this shit. Get some actual deep, uninterrupted sleep without all the trauma.
This is godmother.
Was it his godmother? Was it his mother? Was it somebody else we don't know or haven't met yet? Or, you
Or
know,
just the subconscious being like,
or pure
you gotta stop this, dude.
Yeah, was this purely just another element of the dream, or exactly, right? Because it's like familiar, but not. And again, I've had that. Like, somebody seems like super familiar in the dream, but then you wake up and you're like, no, I legit have actually no idea who that was. Or you're like, oh yeah, it was somebody familiar, but you couldn't, you know. So I'm like, yeah. Very, very interesting. I don't know, right? So we will have to see. Is this foreshadowing of something or just random sleep?
I do love that Dresden has this very kitsch streak.
Yes.
Like his alarm clock is a Mickey Mouse clock.
Yes.
Cute.
I was just saying this to you on the
Like
break.
he probably has on the wall like one of those black cat
with the tail
clocks.
twitch. Maybe he just stole Monica's. Monica had that in a cow version when he went. She had like so maybe he just took like Monica's ticking cow clock with the twitchy tail instead of the black cat one or something. We know
He's got like a 1950s diner thing going on.
he's got a little. Well, I mean, in all fairness, Harry does
And
say
Coke
my
bottles.
apartment is just whatever. I was gonna say he
Picks everything up from a garage sale.
Yeah, so right, we know that he's not into like matching or it's comfort or practicality, right? So he's got secondhand couches that were inexpensive because he can't afford to buy, but mostly they're comfortable. Don't really care what they were fabriced in, upholstered in, as long as they were comfy and presumably at least one of them long enough to fit him laying down. That was all he required, right? So same thing. He's got all these rugs,
The textures.
right? Same thing. Doesn't care that they all match. They're all whatever. But again, as long as they cover the floor and keep them warm and tapestry, right? So
His bookshelves are like mine. A
yes.
black one and a white one and a wooden one and a different kind of wooden one.
Yeah, exactly. And all. But yeah, you get these thrown in, you know, where it's like he's got like Star Wars posters, and then he's got like his Mickey Mouse clock, and he's got, you know what I mean? And it's all like this, you know, right next to his like Dean Koontz horror, you know.
The random junk we all have.
Yeah, exactly.
He's very much, you know, the collector, bachelor, nerd.
Well,
If he wasn't a wizard, he'd be a nerd.
Right. Well, in all fairness, he says exactly that about himself in the very first book, too. He's like, I'm the arcane version of a classic computer nerd.
Yeah.
He's like, I do magic in one way or the other, and that's all I do.
He does tabletop gaming. Like,
But yeah, he does, right? Again, the alphas have invited him out.
it's okay, so do I. So nobody get offended. I'm a nerd too.
Right? Absolutely. I think we all are. Again,
I don't think anyone's
badge
gotten
of-
to this episode and was like, yeah, these guys are definitely making fun of me for being a nerd right now.
I was gonna say, it's a badge of honor. You know, that whole, like, the meek shall inherit the earth? I'm like, this is it. This is, like, the age of nerds. It's, like, cooler to be, like, a nerd and a geek.
Right. And I can never remember the difference between nerd and geek. There's supposed to be some
One
sort
has
of
an
nuance.
N.
One has
Shut
an
up.
N. You're such a wordsmith.
I know.
You're so punny.
Yeah.
She stole that from, like, her conversation with Vincent, okay?
No.
Wizard has a Z.
That was Sonya.
Oh, who cares?
How long have you been a witch? A witch? Or a Wiccan?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, it's just like I was saying to you guys kind of on the break between episodes too, you know, I'm like, it's I don't know what this says about me, if, you know, I can relate to, like, you know, lyrics written by 16-year-olds and things like that they're still relatable in my, you know, I'm like, are they just very mature for their age, or am I just, my life has not gotten better since I was 16, but Harry's kind of that same way, right? He's growing up, he's mature, he can go and you know, go to some high class, well, okay, that wasn't, the party was supposed to be high class. Harry did not go in a high class dress to the costume party. Bad example. But you know what I mean? Like, you know, he does have whatever. He consults with the police and he does this. And then at the same time, exactly, he goes home and he, like, has conversations
Listen, okay?
with his cat about his clients and has his Mickey Mouse alarm clock.
It's called Duality of Man.
Yeah, no, it's good, right? But it's like, exactly, he's like, you know, holding on to those bits and pieces. Like, yes, I am a mature man. I have my own business. I'm making my way in the world, but I also still like my Mickey Mouse alarm clock.
I mean, how many of us actually feel like that we're proper adults? I don't know.
No, yeah, it's all a big fat lie. They all tell you that until you get there and you're like, ah.
Although, I did see this really interesting video on, it was more geared towards millennials, that we don't go through the same key milestones that previous generations had, like owning a house, having a career. We sort of jump between because of how the economy sort of works.
Yeah.
So we don't actually adjust maturity skip-wise because we have never...
Don't have the same sort of set. Yeah, that's interesting.
There are no
actually,
there are no milestones for us.
I believe, yeah, because I mean, I used to say that too. Like, I used to be like, I mean, pros and cons to everything, right? But I was like, sometimes I wish life was like 50 years. You know, it's like I watch the old movies, and they're like, you know, you get hired as the perfume girl at Sears or whatever, and then you move up to like the manager, and then you move up to like.
Right.
Nowadays, that's not it. You know what I mean? If you start the perfume girl, chances are either A, you're gonna move on and get something better for, or you're just gonna, you know what I mean? There's not the same way. Like, you can't start as a perfume girl and end up as like the manager of that department. You know what I mean? It's like you either have to go to school and be a manager person and come in and be, you know what I mean? And there's no loyalty back and forth. So there's not, you know, companies don't try to retain you and look after you because they're like, well, fuck you, we'll just hire somebody else.
What's our bottom line?
Yeah, I can make you manager. I can fire you and hire a new perfume girl for $2 an hour. You know what I mean?
Related that way.
Yeah, and then the same thing of you know, both ways. There's and same thing. We don't feel any of that loyalty to our employers and stuff, you know what I'm like, I miss some of that, you know, like I kind of wish there was more of that where it's like you could go in and be like, hey, if I get in and do a good job, I've got 20 years at this place, you know. And now you're right, it's like, it's just,
look, I'm getting close with doing IT now, but before that, like, I jumped different career, like wildly different careers. Like, none of them were related.
Yeah, I don't know if I did quite as much.
I think my biggest milestone is being able to buy a car.
Yeah,
and like this
like a
this new one
nicer...
is like the only one that I haven't had to co-sign with.
Right,
which
feels good.
You know, it kind of. I mean, until I look at the amount of debt in my bank, I'm like, oh, no.
Well, and that's the other thing. We all get into debt. We can't get out of anymore. Yeah. So you know what? This is why we cling to our Mickey Mouse alarm clocks. Give me something. And I like how, yes, very much like the rest of us, he would love to fling it across the room, but he's like, oh, even I can't do that. I can't sleep in the same room with someone that would. Jessica!
What?
You need to get a Mickey Mouse alarm clock.
No.
Or the equivalent thereof.
I would want to throw Mickey Mouse across a room.
So, that's why I just changed it to the equivalent thereof.
Look at you, a Disney princess. That's much more satisfying.
It'd have to be like Belle. No, she likes some of the Disney princess. We have to get her like Belle or something because literally she was saying
you don't like Belle?
No, she likes Belle. Belle is like her favorite.
Belle's my favorite too.
So I said we would have to
She doesn't even know me.
We'd have to get her one with Belle so that she doesn't just throw it across the room.
I see.
Yeah. because
We'll just get you one and then, like, foam line it so it just bounces.
she literally set like 57 alarms just because she had things to do and didn't want to waste her entire time off between her job and coming here with just sleep. So she set literally all the alarms she's like ever created in her life, and she creates a separate one for like everything. She never like reuses an alarm. And I'm like, well, that's not good because
Excuse me, I had to start reusing them because I hit 100 2 days ago, and it won't let me make more than that.
okay, there you go. There you go. So
There are limits.
no, there are limits. So, and I was like, well, the problem with that, I was like, why would you want to do that? Because I'm like, either you're just going to have a completely uninterrupted sleep because your alarms are, I'm like, why not just let it go for like your 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever you want.
It's super not good
and
for you
then
to
set
hit
three
snoozes.
right, and then set 3 or 4 of them, but at least get your whatever your minimum base hours of uninterrupted, and then or I'm like, you're just going to train yourself to sleep through them all, which is why you start setting. And she was like, funny you should mention that, because she's like, I did set like 100 alarms, and I woke up like 6 hours later, and it had like, you've missed 37 alarms. And she's like, oh damn. And then she fell back asleep for a couple of more hours and woke up, and then it was like, you've missed 55 alarms. And I'm
Well,
like,
you don't.
well,
you
that's
don't
the
have
point.
The ability to create yourself a proper, like, consistent
It's
sleep
very
schedule.
difficult with her working life
Yeah.
right now. She has so many different jobs, and I get that.
You're
but
like
that-
a nomad.
She is, but I'm like, that's the problem. That's why she's like, she got mad because she took the bus instead of the train. Because she's like, the bus takes longer, but it's warmer on the bus. So she's like,
Right.
whatever, I'm just going to grab a seat and snooze on the bus between one job to the next job. And then she was really mad because the bus driver was like training and they couldn't hear each other and they had the heat off. So she took the longer route for less heat in the end. But yes. So anyways, yeah, I'm like, you're just going to train yourself to like sleep through all your alarms. And that's why setting more and more of them isn't better. So anyways.
Oh well.
Well, so he's left a message for Murphy.
Which is good. I'm glad that he did call Murphy. He did get it in there.
He did get it in there. Yeah.
One for Michael as well. And then he takes off for Michael's, which is like the most American dream setup house ever.
American Dream,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Picket fence, like he's living
He said, which is kind of funny. I'm like, I
the
get
American dream.
the American, yeah. I'm like, he does have that sort of picture perfect home. He's like, I get, anyway, he's sort of elevating it because this is Michael and Michael's going to have it. At the same time, I'm like, it also feels a little bit like a kick in the teeth, because he's like, Michael's house did not blend in with most of the other homes at all, so it's like, Michael had this lovely house with a white picket, and it was so out of place in this neighborhood. Everybody else's houses are shit.
Well, essentially, like they don't live in the richest part of town, but Michael is a carpenter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is.
And he probably gets his worldly reward for doing the duties that he does.
A little bit. Well, to me, it's always one of those
maybe.
things that Michael's just a good guy.
God provides
he just
because
puts
he's
in the
doing his
work.
shit.
Karma, exactly. I don't think karma is a Christian concept, but it balances out the same way that exactly, right? Michael is a good man who tries to do good work, so he's got good clients, so he, you know what I mean? Like, right? It's like, you're not a typical contractor, you're not some shyster asshole that, like, gives you a quote and then takes, like, 7 months longer, and, like, you know what I mean? So I think in that point, God sees to it kind of a thing that Michael has steady work, and that his clients pay on time and recommend him, and he, and I sort of feel it more that way, that it's not necessarily
Things just fall into place.
not necessarily divine intervention, but exactly, he gets that little bit of a nod, that exactly, it's just, and yeah, he, again, how much of it, well, we find out, because they mentioned he's obviously doing some of it himself right now, so whether or not Michael built the entire thing, but exactly, right, he's capable that, if he just bought the house, at some point, he was able to build and put in a white
Renovate
picket
and-
fence, if
yeah.
it didn't, you know what I mean, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and again, we know they've been established for a while, because, they've got a 14
Molly's 14, so
Molly's 14, right? So, they've got, a good 15 or more years of marriage. So, yeah, but exactly. He's got the Barbie dream house kind of thing. And even his treehouse does. Which is both awesome and depressing.
yeah. So no one answers the front door, so he lets himself into the back and climbs up the fucking treehouse.
Yeah.
He's like, I might as well just hang out here in
Well,
this
he's already-
treehouse.
Well, it's a better vantage point, right?
Well, it is better. Well, yeah, at first he's freaking out because, yeah, he's like, can't figure out that, like, you said, like,
Well,
suspiciously.
he thinks he hears something on the roof, so the best place to go would be in the tree to see on the roof.
Yes, that is initially why he gets up there, is to check things out. But yeah, he's busy. First of all, he's like, how the
But then
fuck
I
is
bet
there
he's
nobody
like,
home?
I'm just gonna sit here. This is fine.
45 people live in this house.
As he's sitting there, you know, admiring how this tree house is better and has more features and amenities than his own house. He's like, I could climb back down. Or would Michael even notice one more? It's funny though. My friend from Cub says almost done something like this. They moved into so first of all they moved into one of those lakeside neighborhoods, and they literally are like 3 houses from the waterfront, so they can like literally walk right down to their little man-made lake there. And then he also was building a tree house for. I don't think it's the all around. If I remember correctly, it's more of a like rectangular kind of than like a house.
Why even try?
Because it has electricity. You can flip on the lights.
Oh my god, okay. Alright, there's that.
It has a tap. You can have running water.
What?
And just in case,
Is there all this stuff
and-
though, like running
and-
across the lawn up into a tree?
Yeah, pretty much. And just in case, I guess, I don't know, the folks have to hang out there with their kids during the tea party, it's Wi-Fi enabled. So you know what? This is like
This is not a treehouse. This is a panic room.
right?
People are gonna break into your treehouse
Right?
and live there.
It's just
They're gonna get squatters.
it just is more open plan, like a treehouse, as in open.
Here, I was
But
impressed.
yeah.
My auntie Donna has one like that because Bill's a drywaller. He did the drywalling, and it's got like actual proper siding on it too.
Right? Yeah, I don't know how. I don't.
The
think
hardest
I've-
part is getting it up because the ladder is shyster.
Oh. Yeah, I haven't been up back there in a couple of years now because we used to do like our leader barbecues. He usually hosted, and they've been at other people's the last couple. But this year it might have to be back at his place because I'm like, I need to see how you finish like decorating and exactly. I'm like, did you actually like drywall and put siding, or is it still just wood? But yeah, I was
That's
like,
happen electricity though. Like that's.
I was
that's
like, you have
incredible.
built a nicer treehouse for your children than some apartments I have lived. Like, come on. And he's not douchey. He's not like.
Man reverts to trees.
Yeah, but
Love it.
it was funny. I was like, dude, you are going all out. So yeah, yeah.
Did you guys ever go to like that, like the treetop adventure thing in BC?
I did.
Yeah. Did I go with you?
Yes.
You're not in the memories, just the tree houses are.
Yes, we did the Capilano suspension bridge and the treehouse adventures and things. And it was so
Like just structures built in the trees.
Cool.
Like
yeah,
they're
it is.
massive, like-
They are like little tree houses around these trunks.
Oh, I think I've
and
seen
then they
pictures
have
of it. Yeah.
They have like little suspension bridges and walkways, so you don't have to come down. You can keep walking.
You just
all
walk
around.
from tree to tree.
treehouse to treehouse and stuff like that.
Very
yeah.
Ewok.
Yeah, it is very. How old were you?
Yeah, no, I've seen those pictures. That's cool.
12, 14?
So yes, so it's fun coming because he's like can't figure out why nobody's home. First of all, because he's like, well, there's just so many of them. Secondly, he's like, there's still
Something's
kids.
wrong.
Well, there's kids that are not school aged yet, so they can't all be in school. And then he's like, maybe they go to church? Do they have church at 3:00? Well, Harry, it depends on the time of year, and because that's specifically when you do Good Friday. Services is at 3:00 because that was the approximate time of the crucifixion and all that. But it's not a mass
God, I
because
was
you
a
don't have
terrible Catholic.
you don't have community. But yeah, it was just funny. He was like, I don't know, do they have like could they be at church? Like just Michael and his family are just so Catholic and whatever. And he's just like, I don't know, she just took all the kids and went to church in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon or whatever the fuck it is. No. But yes, yeah, so he's gonna split and then yeah, like you say, here's the noise. Best place to check it out is up in the treehouse, and before he can run away or do anything,
Yeah.
now he does hear.
He hears somebody coming up, climbing up the treehouse, who turns out to be Molly, brandishing a few piercings and dressing what I'm going to call punk chic.
So yeah, well,
Red bra, ripped up
she's
private school
brandishing-
uniform, and too much makeup.
She's brandishing piercings. He's brandishing his blasting rod in her face because he doesn't know what the fuck is coming. So he does. He lights because he's like, I could jump out of
Is that a settling torch?
Yeah, I'm like, so this is kind of funny. So he's like, it's probably he figures an 8 to 10 foot drop. So I'm like, I get that. You don't want to just jump straight out because you're right. That's enough that you could injure himself as he's like worried about. So he doesn't want to. But at the same time, and I'm like, again, unless this is just like becoming not fast enough reaction. But Harry, who is, as we've well determined, almost 7 feet tall, I'm like, you couldn't just do like the drop and dangle, because then you're dropping like a maximum
feet?
of 1 to 3 feet.
Right, I guess so.
So I'm like, does it figure that it's like, oh, by the time he like climbs over and like lets them, that the bad guys would have more opportunity to get the drop on, whereas if you just jump, you know what I mean? But I was like, Harry, I'm pretty sure you could just like dangle.
Well, he's got shit luck, so,
Yeah, but it's just like he doesn't consider this, He's just like, I don't want to drop because I break an ankle. But anyways, yes, turns out it's fine because it's not some creepy demon bear or batshit haired lady. It's just Molly, and yes, she's all getting grown up, and it's cute because Dresden has very good reactions to this.
I love this one, like, because I had to write down the quote of this. I worked hard not to smile. Smiling would have implied that I found her outfit amusing. She was young enough to be hurt by that kind of opinion, and I had a vague memory of being that ridiculous at one time. Let he who hath never worn parachute pants cast the first stone. So all I can imagine is Dresden looking like MC Hammer.
Right, like, and especially Dresden.
I totally put a picture of MC Hammer in my notes.
Like, yeah. Well, but again, right, super tall, gawky, gangly, white boy magic nerd in parachute pants.
With the crotch down to his ankles, like...
Oh my goodness. It's just, but I love this, right? Where, again, Harry's old enough now to be like, what the fuck is this? But young enough to remember.
And he's got a
don't laugh in
sensitivity,
her
that's
face.
nice.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's like, but he's also, so he's partially amused, but he's also partially horrified by this because his best friend's
He's basically
daughter,
an uncle, right?
is all of a sudden all like everything's all ripped and slashed. She's got a red satin bra peeking through. He's like, what the hell? You're like 10, And yeah, so obviously hasn't seen the kids in a little while, right? Because again, we know him and Michael often bop around and do, but we also know Charity's not fond of him, so he doesn't get invited over a whole lot. Right? But it's just kind of funny where he's like, firstly, just the usual normal surprise that we get. We're like, oh my God, I haven't seen, like, holy crap, you're big now, And then just also the fact of, again, this maturity of this makeup, and he's like
Pre-teens.
Well, early teen.
Right.
But yeah, exactly, like, she's wearing makeup, but he's like, not so much as to be, like, whorish or whatever he says, but more than, like...
More than her age range should
More than
warrant.
yeah, right? So, and again, I'm like, we've all been, and I love this, so... I didn't have to be this way. I didn't necessarily have to carry like a complete change of clothes around with me every time I left the house. But there were some things that Mom was like, you're not, you kind of had to hide under something else until you... Yeah, so thankfully I was mostly just kind of a jeans kind of girl, so that wasn't usually...
My older sister, I am fairly certain that she had like the two changes of clothes. I'm pretty sure she did, but me, like, by the time my parents didn't give a shit about me by the time I was like,
well, there's and
I dressed like such a heathen to like Catholic school in high school. Like I had the weirdest like outfits ever. I had a 1930s tux with tails, and I would wear it with a top hat and the Dracula red glasses.
No, but see, that's not horror.
But I also, at one point, I shaved my head, and I dressed in lots of leather and had chains and handcuffs hanging off my belt.
Yes, I will make her post.
I found out like 10 years later, all the football players were terrified of me. I was like,
which is funny because you're like, what, 5'6"?
I have pictures.
I was gonna say I will make her post all of the pictures of these outfits on that.
We can hand them over.
We can all revel in the glory that was Tanzan.
I don't think I have any Tux Tales pictures, but I do have pictures of me holding
whatever you can find, up to and including your 80s night last night.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
I was gonna say, I do remember my paternal grandmother complaining because her mother was extremely, extremely strict, and women wear skirts and dresses only. So my grandmother had to keep her jeans in her locker
she couldn't
at
just
school.
wear jeans to school.
Couldn't wear pants at all. And so my grandmother went so eccentric that she like her first ever like money that she ever had, she went out and bought bright red jeans. Yeah, that's what she kept in her school locker.
Yeah, but
I don't actually remember my mom ever wearing dress ever. I think she always wore pants.
Mm-hmm. That's more like me. My kids
and they were
probably have
definitely
few
mom
memories.
jeans, like 1980s mom jeans. The Canadian tuxedo with the...
my mom was very much the mix because she definitely, again, being Catholic. So I don't know. I don't remember what branch Dad's family was because they weren't Catholic. They were some other Christian, whatever. But, because I remember Johnny they used to have to strip the floor. They used to have to, like, all the, like, wooden floors in the whole house, and they used to have to strip them and re-wax them, like, every fucking week as well. Not just, like, once in a while. Every week they had to strip and re-wax. But anyways, but my mom, I remember, she would wear, like, the Sunday best kind of a thing. And my mother would wear dresses or skirts or things, like, on Christmas or parties or to church. But, again, the rest of the week when she was just momming it around and stuff like that, yeah, totally wore the slacks or the jeans or the something like that. Me, I have worn, like, again, I've worn dresses to weddings and things, but since I was a teenager just about, I very rarely wear skirts or dresses. I just got all insecure and whatever. Now it's the typical, like, well, geez, if I still looked the way I did when I was 20, I would totally, but when I was 20, I was like, oh, I don't want to show off my legs. They're, don't have nylons to wear it. Or, again, I just wanted to be like, I know part of when I was younger and started, because you'd always have to wait around for your parents to do all their chit-chatting after church. And I'm like, I can't go climb trees and play if I'm in a dress. So that was partially the start. And same thing of, like, at school and stuff like that. A couple of times I think I wore a long skirt, but mostly it was like, I'm going to want to run around and do cartwheels and play with my friends or maybe climb over a fence. Like, I'm not wearing a dress. But yeah.
Maybe climb over a fence. She was quite the delinquent.
I've got the scar. See, Harry, I did do the 20-foot drop, and I got the scar to prove it. But yeah, so Molly is, yes, expressing her. So again, and again, I have to say, I don't know, this still seems to be more of a typical thing in the States, and correct me if I'm wrong, where they still seem to do uniform. Because again, that's always been the classic. The stereotype, the thing,
Private school, Catholic school.
Catholic girls and
wear a uniform and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Catholic uniforms and stuff like that.
And I think this is very much regional. Even in Canada, like my cousins in BC, she went to a Catholic school and she had to wear a uniform.
Okay.
But I think I think it was treated a little bit more like a private school, funding-wise.
Right. And I wonder if that's the difference, because, again, from what I understand, because, again, it was always the thing about, like, Catholic schools are better, and, again, more privately funded down in the States or other parts of the world. Yeah. So, yeah, it was more like a private school. So you had the uniforms and whereas public school was left to the underfunded, understaffed, under-resourced,
Where here, like... Catholic. I went to Catholic school here, and there was no uniforms.
There was no uniform.
There are private schools. They do have uniforms.
Yeah, my separate school I wore a uniform. Catholic school I did not have to. Right. And again, it was your typical modesty kind of a thing. Like nobody. Although it's funny. Again, my boss, who is now like 69, is likes to talk about how she was the era where they like had to like protest for girls to wear pants, and she's like, I don't think she went to Catholic school or anything like that. I don't recall for sure, but she's like, it was really dumb because they were allowed to wear hot pants, but they were not allowed to wear like slacks.
Well, they still have issues with stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, like freaking hot, but like how backwards is that? They're like, we just want to wear pants that completely cover us from hip to ankle, and no, but we can wear hot pants. That's a feminine clothing item that is appropriate to wear to school.
I don't know what the fuck hot pants are.
They're you know what cheerleaders wear under? They're like the short shorts.
Oh, skirts?
No, not the skirt part of it. Just almost like boy shorts kind of a thing. Like hot pants were just very short, very tight. Like when you go back and see all like the the
booty shorts.
Yeah, hot pants are just short shorts. Okay.
So Dresden fusses with the handcuffs that are still on one of the wrists, and Molly teases him. Ooh, Molly says wisely, "Are those fun time handcuffs? Not bad time handcuffs? Gotcha."
And he's like, how do you know about... Well, first of all, she's plucking up...
horrified.
And I have to wonder about this slightly, too, because he's like, is that an eye ring and all that? Or an eye ring? But I'm like, how... Like, okay, the nose ones are often small enough, not. Eyebrows are a little bit more. How is her mom not noticed? I guess she takes them out.
Right.
How is mom not noticing the piercing holes,
right.
though?
And I know from experience because, like... And you know this.
Yeah.
I hope you know this about your nose ring. Because it's a moist membrane. If you take out your nose ring for more than a couple of days, no matter how long you've had it, because it's a moist membrane, it will close on itself.
Oh, this is a bad time today.
What?
Do you have moist membranes?
No, be quiet. Don't say gross things.
Sorry. Yes, no, I know that, but I get...
And eyebrows, like, yeah.
Okay, I get
those
that.
Scar.
I get that more so that, fine, she's going to school every day. She wears it every day for the duration she's at school, takes it out for a couple hours while she's home. I'm not worried about the closing up part so much. I'm more...
Seeing the holes.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, again, on the nose, and depending on the shape of your nose and how your little dent in your nose is there.
I know when I take mine out, you can see it.
Like, yeah, and other people's, I know it's not very obvious at all. And again, if you're not looking for it, you're not, again, maybe Molly's
got... But the initial piercing, it'd have to be in for a while first.
Well, that too.
You'd have to have, like, you're supposed to have it in for, like, something like 90 days the first time.
It's usually a minimum of, like, 6 weeks to 3 months or something like that.
And it will always have, like, even, I've had mine since high school, and I will still have risk of it closing up if I ever take it out for more than a day.
But anyways, yeah, I just feel, especially the eyebrow ones, from what I've seen from most people, because again, the nose is just a single through, whereas the eyebrow is like a circular. You kind of got the two ready. Usually when they're out, you can know. I don't know why this is so bad for you. Like, I get in general, but how is just the piercing hole left
Is it
over?
an active imagination thing?
Hey, you're just threading it through your body. It's gross.
I'm not that disturbed by.
I find this like
piercings.
very funny and ironic, just based on the fact that you had piercings in your like collarbones.
Yeah, but I didn't have to thread them through. They were permanent.
Except your body was like, "Fuck you, no, they're not."
Yeah, but that
was very disappointing.
Yeah, I had them done twice, and they rejected both times.
But yes, that was that. There's one. Yeah, how did she manage to get through the healing process without her mom? And then again, how does mom not notice some of these
I don't
that are
think
left
those are
over?
feasible.
But anyway,
Benefit of having too many children.
right?
I guess,
Molly's
right.
just she's like,
Was that Molly or Alicia just now? Oh,
It's
who
a
cares?
zip.
yeah, right. Molly, he doesn't say too much about her hair right now. Maybe she's just got the long hair, and she does, like, again, my mother was forever yelling at me to get my hair out of my face, and, my bangs were always flopping over my eyes, my hair was really long, so, maybe she just makes it a purpose to always just have, like, her hair, like,
Covering the nose.
Yeah, she just keeps it down and, like, scrunched around her face the whole time, and anyways.
I just love that she pulls out not just one kind of handcuff key, but multiple.
Yeah.
Which I don't. I used to work security, so I have handcuffs that are like police issue, and I only remember.
We all believe that excuse.
I remember being able to get a universal key for it. Like, I think there's only one kind of key, but I could be totally wrong.
And I've always sort of thought. I mean, again, it always seems to be the kind of thing that usually
it's just one little tiny nub. That's what it's so easy to pick.
Usually in like movies and all that kind of stuff, right? It all seems like if you've got a cuff key, you've got a cuff key, and But I do wonder, and again, given what we're learning about Molly, that obviously Molly is experimenting with self and finding herself and whatever, right? So here you have the good little Catholic girl.
Or the naughty Catholic girl in this case.
Right? She's got the ripped up clothes, the flashy bra, the piercings, the makeup.
Nobody rebels like a Catholic girl.
Oh, amen, sister. So is it, because, I'm thinking now, so there's your typical, like, police handcuffs, but then you also have, like, your sort of, the old-fashioned manacles, which... How do you describe? Almost like with the big, like almost like a horse's bit. It's got the big bar, and then like the loop around or something. Like I wonder if maybe this is it. If it's not just that there's handcuffs, but she's got like different types of handcuff, manacle. You know what I mean? Like this is where the variety of key comes in. It's not just that regular handcuffs take a variety of keys, but she's like very different types of. Maybe. I don't...
Different brands. I had a Smith & Wesson brand.
Yeah, I'm only familiar with the pistols, but...
They actually do handcuffs, too.
I guess we will have to do this. We will all be, like, hopping on afterwards and, like, looking up.
And never use real handcuffs for naughty play. That is just wrong.
Not safe.
Take a hint from Gerald's game. Bad idea.
Not familiar with that one. But I've seen and read lots of other media and stories and whatever where
they're having naughty time and he handcuffs her and then he drops dead.
Yeah.
And so she's trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they had that in like NCIS too. The guy was like on leave with his girlfriend and they were at a hotel and he like runs out to get food and then gets like hit by a car or something. And then she's too embarrassed to admit that they were like, so she makes up this whole big story about being like kidnapped and whatever. Anyways.
Most modern handcuffs in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Latin America can be opened with the same standard universal handcuff key. This allows for easier transport of prisoners. However, there are handcuff makers who use keys based on different standards.
There you go. So maybe Molly just is simply covering her bases. Or,
she's an avid collector.
She's an avid collector of various... And we don't know, because Harry, like us, says, where the bleep did you get a bunch of cuff keys? And she says...
Internet.
Do you really... No, she says, think about it. Do you really want me to answer that? No, I don't. Cool.
See, my thinking would be that she just has a bunch of random keys to a bunch of random shit, and she doesn't know which one is the handcuff key.
And that could also be too, because he does just kind of say she takes out a thing of cuff keys, but you're right.
They might not all be two cuffs.
They might not all be two cuffs either. It could just be
one's for her diary, and one's for her piggy bank, and one's for her friend's diary, and one's for the handcuffs.
Whatever. But it makes for a great moment. Whatever these keys are, wherever they came from, and whatever. Again, maybe she has a bunch just to make people wonder and ask that question. She's like, again, like with everything else, it's like it's just for the shock factor, just to make people people uncomfortable, but really, like you say, they're nothing.
And furthering the uncomfortable factor is that Molly apparently listens in on her parents' conversations.
Yeah, so she does find his grocery list mentioning the duel and asks him point blank if it's about the vampires. So she, as you said, she has been eavesdropping. So she's like already at 14 fully entrenched in the supernatural world.
Yes and no.
Well, I should say fully entrenched. She has awareness that not other people have.
I don't think that her parents are necessarily keeping it a secret from their kids, right? Like, they're not going to lie and be like, oh, Dad just had a business meeting. Like, they know what their father does.
You get the sense that, they have an idea Michael's out there protecting the world from bad things.
Right. But they just don't, obviously get the extent of, like, some guy almost ripped off your dad's arm today. He had 800 arms.
So, again, keeping with the whole appropriate level for your children and things like that, exactly. It's like, sure, when children are young, you need to explain body parts and things to them so they're not, but at the same time, it's inappropriate, to sit down and show them Debbie Does Dallas to explain the birds and the bees when you're, you know what I mean? So it's like, again, their kids have some, but this is the thing, because I was like, it makes you wonder, right? Does Molly know or not? So again, same thing, I agree with that, because again, she knows about vampires and things like that, but as she comes up and Harry's got his blasting rod, she's like, whoa, is that like an acetylene torch? So is she just trying to, again, it indicates that she doesn't recognize it as a magical weapon right off the bat, then and there either, right? So again, she's at, she's 14, so it's like, again, how much of it is illicit information, that her parents don't want to explain the full entirety of it, so she's picking up things here and there, so again,
making up her own conclusions, which might be wrong.
Right, so again, she might be able to, again, being part of our pop culture as they are, it might be easy for her to wrap her head around vampires and things like that. Maybe it's harder for her to actually picture, like, a wizard and what wizards can do, because we don't have people doing magic stuff like that. This, you know what I mean? Like, so, whatever it is. But, yeah, it's just, again, that very interesting that he's just, like, is there, like, fucking, like, unauthorized biographies? Like, is there, like, a PBS special on my life, He's like, what the hell? And she's like, well, you never hear anything good in the regular comic. And I'm like, yeah, to a large point, you're right. I'm like, I wouldn't say never, because I'm like, obviously, they were talking about these things in a summer. But yeah, as far as her household and these kinds. And he's like, your mom said we're a hot item. he's like, so are you and Susan a hot item?
Right. She does, while she's uncuffing him.
Yeah.
Does inquire about Susan.
Yeah. And he's like, he's like, where'd you hear that or whatever? And she's like, he's like, your mom said that. Like, well, as much as she ever would. She uses a lot of words like,
still, I like
depravity and
I like that Charity and Michael are still the same old married couple, like gossip about all their friends.
Yeah. Well, half gossip, half informational, right? This is important that, like, oh my God, Susan's now,
She's a vampire.
I was like, I was just telling Harry to propose to her, and now
He's surprisingly candid with her, like, he's like, saying how it's complicated, and she's just like, why don't you just tie her up, use handcuffs, like, just do it.
I know, well, he prefaces all of this, too, because she's like, do you want to tell me about all this? He's like, you're too young, and she's like, oh, you can use, like, bleep to fill in things, right? So again, Harry's like immediately like, where the bleep did you, and then exactly, she's like, oh, so it's like a sex thing? He's like, oh, you're so too young, you're like 10, and she's like 14, like, so we're, you know what I mean, and, it's like, granted. Oh, but I'm like, this does hard. And I think for most of us, this is, so many of us as kids, teens with families. And again, I'm like, you know what? Sure.
I think I was Molly when I was growing up.
I had to either purposely or accidentally eavesdropped on conversations to find out things that were going on around my household or other people. Because you're right, my parents didn't discuss these things in front of, it wasn't any of our business and whatever, right?
I would find out from my older sisters what I would do.
Well, yeah, because you guys had that nice age gap that it made it, your sister was older to a lot of them. Like, yeah, sure, my youngest sister probably got a lot of it, but, but exactly, right? It's this whole in-between and everything like that, and where she's all like, oh, Mommy, says that you're, like, immature and depravity and moral bankruptcy, and he's like, so are you? And he's like, morally bankrupt? She's like, I don't give a shit about that. Are you a hot item with Susan? Like, it's just like, Harry's like, what? Like, it's just kind of, Molly's going at a mile a minute and going whatever. She thinks this is just great. And this is just one of Dad's friends. Like, again, there's obviously a familiarity enough there that she's used to, that it's not like, oh, hello, Mr. Dresden. How, you know what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of respect for you. Because at first she's like,
she was probably because she's the older one of
Well, she is. She's the oldest, yeah.
She is the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the oldest.
So she did get to actually hang out with Dresden before he got on Charity's shit list.
Ooh, yeah. Well,
he's been there the whole time.
I was going to say, I don't know if he was ever off Charity's shitless.
But a lot of the children's original memories would have been too young to remember him, whereas Molly's probably always been old enough to know this guy.
Okay.
Well, again, it goes back to that conversation of whether they've known each other for 6 years or 20 years, depending on how that whole... But exactly, at 14, she's known him. So if we said he's... How many years are we at this point?
Well, let's put 5 years.
Whatever. We're only at 5 years now?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Anyways.
7, I don't know.
But, yeah, Molly was probably, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, right, when Harry... So, young enough, exactly, that, there's a little bit like, this is my... But also that you've been around a lot, you know what I mean? That you're familiar enough, I'm comfortable with you enough being around, because you have been so much a part of my life growing up kind of a thing, even though he's not like a permanent fixture. Because even just previously, when he phoned earlier, she's all like, oh, no, and she was joking around with him a little bit, like, oh, so you don't want to talk to Mom, and, right? So she's got that sort of comfortable and know that Harry's good for a sarcastic jab and stuff like that, right? So it is kind of an interesting dynamic where Harry's like, we know each other, you're like, but also like, ooh,
you're a child.
Yeah, and it
just
is
kind of like what I keep doing you today.
It's
just in reverse.
It is, right? Well, it is different when it's somebody else's kid a little bit, isn't it? Like, again, we all we get there, we're like, oh my God, my kids are growing up and they're doing... But again, as you move along day to day with all that, it's less of that jarring as, seeing every few months or every few years or whatever, so... There's just, so many fantastic things in this whole exchange.
So earlier in this chapter, it says that Molly is like about the same height as Charity.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, because Charity comes home and and we figure it actually says, so she's like 5'11"
Yeah,
give or take an inch or so. Like, she is
at
tall.
14.
Why is everybody so goddamn tall in this book?
See, I told you. Didn't I bring this up a couple chapters ago?
did.
Where it's like everybody in Harry's
either 5
world
feet
is
or
either
6 feet.
exceptionally tall or exceptionally
God,
short.
if she's 14 and 5'11" already, like,
yeah,
good God.
which is part of me is like, she can't. I mean, again, just in my own visual, it's hard for me to picture her. I mean, they're sitting in a treehouse too, so it's fine. They're sitting. It's hard for me to picture her quite. Because
women keep developing till they're around 25, whereas men
are. But
a
I was
little bit
gonna
younger when they stop developing.
I think that's the opposite. I'm pretty sure guys continue to grow for a few more years after girls.
I thought it was. I was thinking that way too. That guys usually top out around like 18, 19.
Oh, I could be totally
to
wrong on this
21
one.
or something.
Like,
but the same thing. Like,
but it's slower. Like, for women, it's slower, and
Yeah.
men were more extreme because of testosterone. Is how I.
Yeah, girls usually stop growing at about 14 or 15,
Yeah, but I was gonna say.
and boys are about 18. Yeah.
Okay, so that was.
Oh, okay. Probably one of those things you learn in the 80s that never got corrected for me.
Yeah, could be. But because they're like sitting in the treehouse, so it's not quite the same. But I tend to, maybe it's just because I'm more that height. It's hard for me to picture Molly being sort of that tall. But again, like at the same time, I'm like my very tall friend who we mentioned before. He was like 6 foot or better by age 12. Right? So, okay, you've got that boy-girl difference or whatever, right? But I'm like, again, it's not, like, she is 14, so it's not, and again, I'm pretty much the height I was at that age, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was probably somewhere 12 to 14-ish, right? So I'm like, again, it's just probably a little bit because she's got that sort of extra height that we're not, like, part of you're like, that sounds so tall for, like, a 14-year-old, but I'm like, well, when I actually stop and think about it, and, like, my kids and my niece, and I'm like, no, actually, I guess that is, it's not that unreasonable for her to be at that height already. But yes, she is tall and she is only 14 and
Well, and that baby fat and chubbiness and like, just, general demeanor that young kids have, totally changes the height perception too, right?
Well, some of that too, exactly, yeah. But yeah, sadly, it's nothing I have experience with because I am not 5'11".
Horrendously average. Above average for the States.
I'm taller than Murphy. I'm taller than
Average for
Murphy.
Canada.
That's about all we've got.
Yes.
I'm not taller than Mouse, but I'm taller than Murphy. Oh, oops, we'll have to skip that part.
So Charity pulls up in the van and begins unloading the children and tells Mr. Dresden to help.
Right?
He says he's in a hurry for Michael, but she does not care, and she's like, take this in.
Yeah, she's like, I got shit to do. And even this, because he's asking Molly, he's like, is that normal for no one to be... Oh, she's like, oh yeah, it's errand day. She just loads up all the little snot-nosed Jawas in the sandcrawler. It's like, we love you, Molly. Like, you know how to talk to Dresden. But, and Molly, so he's like, I'm like, I just gotta get out of here, like, Michael's still not home, and she's like, no, I got groceries to take in. He's like, yeah, I gotta bounce. She's like, no, I got groceries to take in.
No, you're
Make
doing
yourself,
this.
and literally, like, shoves them into his hand, and makes him, he's like, I kinda had to fumble, too, and she's like, just fucking fucking take him in, Dresden.
Yeah, right?
Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
Show up at their house unannounced.
I've just been shopping for 4 hours with like 3 little kids, and
He clearly hasn't been married before.
right, or been part of a large family, being the only child orphan type.
Right,
that
well,
he is.
and Molly, she instantly jumped into, like, unclipping kids from seatbelts,
She
right?
knew
Like,
the
she knew the
drill.
drill.
Well, actually, no. First, she ran into the house really quick and ditched her bag, and then she was
Ditch
just
the
suddenly-
contraband.
Ditch the contraband real fast.
Yeah, it grabs Princess Amanda from the van, and Harry is introduced. And I thought it was so cute.
Right.
Your name is Bill.
Yeah.
We already have a Harry. You're Bill now.
Right. It's like,
Cute.
I'm Amanda.
He's like,
My dad says I'm a princess.
Okay.
He's like, oh. But yeah, very typically kids in a lot of ways. I'm like, actually, I could totally see that logic there. Like, we already have a Harry. You can be Bill. And just immediately walk right, and Harry's like, glad we settled that.
Right? Done.
Done, right? But yeah, exactly. So, and Harry Charity is still just like, because she gives him the whole, she's like, I've got groceries, and I've got meat thawing, and I've got a baby that's going to wake up. And so he's, still holding the stuff she's put in his hand and having this exchange with the kid. And she's like, Harry, the ice cream's melting. He's like, okay, I'm coming.
Well, and we see Shiro. Shiro is also in the van, and he's helping.
Shiro went along.
He helps unload children as well.
Yeah.
And so I guess that sort of establishes, for me at least, that he has been interactive with his family for some time.
Yeah, so, well,
Because there's a comfort there. Like,
there is. And I mean,
she took him shopping.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see that a little bit too. Like, honestly, if I, go to my, to another town to visit my sister and they're doing it, I'm probably going to go run errands with you because why am I going to sit around by myself to spend time? But also, give you a hand kind of a thing. And I see that being just a very Shiro part, that again, Shiro's, being a knight of the cross, right? He's like that. He's willing to help. He's charitable to
help
others.
you take care of the kids and get the groceries.
And again, whether or not, we don't know yet whether or not Shiro's had a family of his own or anything like that. But again, right, totally see him being like, oh man, because he's got the 3 little ones. She's got Amanda, Hope, and Harry are in. Right, so 5 and younger, right? I'm like, that is kind of a handful to go shopping with, right? So for sure, let me be an extra pair of hands to help you watch the kids or, whatever, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Well, he's a warrior of God. I don't think he's also expected to do that either.
No, but
I'm pretty sure Charity is not going to be like, Shiro, get in the van now. Like,
well,
there's a difference between how she treats Harry,
yes,
and how she would treat somebody who is sort of in her.
Well, for sure, she's got more respect for Shiro because we know Charity doesn't like Dresden and doesn't have respect for him. So there's that. She has more because again, Shiro is very much like Michael and stands for the same thing.
I think Charity thinks of Harry as a child.
Well, very much.
Yeah, but it's just part of who the knights are. It's like they're just obviously going to help. But Charity doesn't have to ask. She doesn't have to guess.
Well, that's
She
the
just
thing,
knows.
right? She doesn't have to order because he's going to be there offering before she has to ask whether or not. But to go back to what you're saying, the comfort in the family is yes. What we found when we first met them is that Shiro is the one that trained Michael. So while we've never met him before, we've never seen him on the scene. Back in the day,
He knows the Carpenters very well.
Obviously,
It does a nice job of establishing the familiar.
yeah, so again, right, it shows that Shiro is very comfortable just being like, I'll hop in your minivan and go grocery shopping with you and the babies. And again, that Charity is comfortable having him along, like, whatever. He's a part of the family, that it's in his personality, that he's, that Charity has respect for him, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, again, and I can see a little bit just because you're like, oh, she wouldn't order him around. I can see a little bit the flip side too, like given the way she is here. Obviously, Charity just being very much that way too. Like, we're a big family. If you're here, you help out. So if you're going to be here, sure, you might as not necessarily ordering him the same way she might dress him, but I can also see Charity just very, very much expecting. That it wouldn't feel bad about putting him to work or something like that if she needed or felt,
Right.
whatever. But yes, it's a great little scene. He's just like, okay, she's like, you will take these groceries in and you will put them away, and then we will talk.
Right. He does ultimately help, and then once they're inside, Dresden asks again about Michael and explains that he does need a second for the duel with Ortega, with Ortega. Sure, lets him know that Michael and Sonia went to St. Louis.
I think that's dependent on who you are and where you're.
Crap.
Because I do hear a lot of people say St. Louis, like the St. Louis Blues, but then there is also Judy Garland and me in St. Louis. So, I'm not really sure which way, if there's an absolute proper.
They went to St. Louis.
It might be like Toronto and Toronto.
Right,
You know, I'm
right.
not sure if there's like a diehard right
I feel
or
like I'm saying
wrong
it in
or
a French manner.
dialectical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My school was Louis.
But they went there to investigate a Denarian activity, and they don't know when he'll return.
Yeah.
So Shiro offers.
Shira.
I know I keep saying Shira.
Is it because you had 80s night last night?
Yes.
Shira!
Shiro offers to be Dresden's second, and seems to be already really very fully aware of the protocols for the duel. And he takes the number for the archive and goes off to make the call.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, Charity is annoyed that once again he's shown up looking for stuff and that he needs Michael. And Shiro's like, dude, like, we kind of asked you to stay out of this. And Harry's like, I get it. It's not actually about that. To which Charity's like, of course. So not only are you here interrupting, but yeah, go figure, it's not even about this whole big thing that requires them. You're gonna come with something else yet again that's completely, so it's just, you can't win. He's just deeper and deeper. But yeah, but then Shiro's like, okay. And again, it's this fantastic moment seeing what the character of these folks are, right? Where he's like, would Michael help him? And Charity's like, yes, because my husband's an idiot. And that's all it is. Shiro's like, okay, I'll do it. And Harry's like again gets that one part
So
of like, oh, thank God.
selfless.
Well, yeah, but he gets that relief, but at the same time, he's like, dude, you don't have, like, you don't know me,
Right.
And Shiro was like, yeah, I don't care. Michael knows you. Michael would do it good enough. You must be good peeps.
Because Michael would help Harry, Shiro will help Harry, and that's all it is. That's all that needs to be said.
Right.
Yeah, and even that, Harry's got sort of a nice, he's like, I don't know if it's just because I don't know him and I'm like a little bit uncomfortable, or whether it's like my pride or, but he's like, oh, me and Michael have worked together. I feel there's a little bit of like that give and take we can, but he's like, oh, it just, kind of rubbed me the wrong. He's like, or maybe that's just my pride talking that, but either way, he is relieved that somebody is, and again, it's not even just like Joe Blow. It's a Knight of the Cross. So dudes.
Well, and it sounds like from the amount of experience that he's already asking the right questions that this is the correct choice.
Well,
I don't think that Michael would have been the correct choice. Like, yes, it would have been his default,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
I don't think Michael would have been the right one.
Coming from the knight's perspective, it all worked out that Michael wasn't there to be asked and Shiro was.
So
That's God's.
So maybe that tells
plan.
you that
He
Michael
made it
was
that
not.
way.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Michael wasn't going to be the good choice. That's why God sent him to St. Louis or Louis, depending on who you are.
where you're from. So yeah, there's definitely that side of it that it could have played out, and I could see it that again, because again, Shiro obviously has some years on Michael as well and stuff like that. He's been around a lot longer. Michael may not have had the opportunity to, so yeah, it's hard to say whether, who knows, maybe Michael has done official duels like this, maybe not, but we know.
Now we actually get really the opportunity to get to learn more about.
Well, we do, and that's
About
good
these
too.
other characters,
and that's
like,
good too. But yeah,
We know lots about Michael. Let's
well,
find
and
out
that's the
some
thing, and we know
more things.
Harry more because we know in a fight exactly.
We're doing world character building.
Exactly, right? Like, Michael can, whether or not he's ever done a duel or not or whatever, it's like, well, Michael is reliable. If he says he's going to be there, he'll figure out the shit even if he doesn't. Shiro sort of was like, oh, where is it at? And he's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, oh, let me call your second, right? So it's like, yeah, Shiro's not, Michael, we know, would have at least put in the homework. He would have made sure to find that out and do it all the right way, and he could have. But yeah, it's this way that exactly, it's like, you don't even have to worry about whether or not he's like, again, just that extra peace of mind that it's like, it's not even just theoretical. It's not like, oh, I read my copy of the Accord. He's like, no, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dresden waits a bit while he's waiting for Shiro to come back.
Yeah.
And he's sort of watching Charity prepare dinner, and then he decides to join in and help cut veggies. Like, all right, I'm gonna stop being awkward. I'm gonna help. And Charity does relent and like gives him
More shit to do.
Here's a can of Coke, and here's
This isn't right.
and then starts chatting with him.
Major peace offering, right? You know that she's like, she gets a can of Coke.
All right, we're gonna have a heart to heart. Here's a Coke. But
Yeah.
she does disclose her worry for Michael, and knowing and she knows that she would be completely lost without him, and she also has that worry because he has been hurt. Michael has been hurt 3 times in the past trying to help Dresden. So statistically, like every time he tries to help Dresden, he gets fucked in some way.
Yeah.
Which, just to be fair, that's, all the times that he's not, getting his mission from God.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's like the whole point, right? Because she's like, again, where she's like, I don't like you, but at the same time, being who she is, she's like, I don't, like, hate you, you know what I mean? She's like, I think you're a jerk, and I don't like how Michael always gets into trouble, but exactly, right? She's like, I can offer you, you know what I mean? You're still a human being, you're not scum of the earth kind of a thing, right? Yeah. So it's like that whole willingness to, and then exactly where she's like, you know, and I think it says on so many levels, like, not only does she, and spoiler alert, they have 7 kids. So, which you do sort of get in this. We don't get all their names yet, but, you know, basically, right. So the oldest is obviously Molly at 14. The youngest is Harry, who's about a year or so in this book, right? So none of them are, you know what I mean? She still has a lot of young kids to raise. So, I mean, there's, first of all, that right there. Like, exactly. I'm like, for any of us that have raised, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids on our own, any number is hard, and especially... You know, so she's got slight advantage that, okay, at least Molly and some of the other ones are a little bit old enough to help out, but they're not, like, go to work and drive the car old enough or anything like that yet, right? And there's also, I think it speaks to the fact of just how much her and Michael do love and respect each other, that, you know, she's like, I would be lost without him, and not even just from a, oh, it's so sappy, make me, you know what I mean? But it's like, no, they genuinely support each other. And
that's a big family unit, as you're saying.
Yeah,
it's...
You know, emotionally, physically, financially, whatever, they work together in a partnership and whatever, you know what I mean? And exactly. So that, you know, she would be that so much of a loss for all of these things, you know, that Michael does for the family, as well as just the father to the kids, because he obviously fathers his children. And his children like and respect their dad. Mm-hmm. Not like Jessica's thing the other day where it's like, I got a tattoo of my dad and it's just blank space.
A bunch of coworkers kept tagging me in that, and I'm like, guys are assholes.
But it was kind of funny, though. And I'm like, it's so wrong, but yet so right. And unfortunately, so many more people I know these days, that's the reality than the other way around, right? But yeah. So she's like, yeah, he's been hurt 3 times. And he's like, oh, shit. And she's like, all of them with you. Oh, shit. Yeah, and why? Because yours aren't sanctioned missions, kind of a thing, you know? Yours are outside. Yours are not.
Michael keeps doing it anyways, knowing he's going to get hurt. And
well,
you keep bringing him
the possibility. But yeah,
right.
But again, because Michael is, again, like, Shiro's not going to be like, fuck you, go grocery shopping on your own. Michael's like, I'm not going to make you go out and fight ghosts and demon on your own. You need help. Yeah, I'm here. I'm not otherwise engaged already. Mm-hmm. I will come and help you.
Right. And it helps too that it's not just selfish from Harry. Like, he is always going up against a bad guy that was hurting. Like, you know, like the first time we met Michael, like, they were gonna go fight ghosts at the children's hospital.
Yeah,
or the children's wing of the hospital. Like
saving babies. Yeah, the nursery.
Right. Like, it's not like he Dresden showed up and he was like, oh, I pissed off a ghost and now he's being mean to me.
Well, I think there's a lot of overlap. Like, I think the stuff that Harry is doing with Michael is still, yes, what would be considered God's work for Michael.
But
he does, his involvement, because he's such a wild card, does throw a monkey wrench into things.
It is, and this is this whole fate versus free will versus big picture versus, exactly. Obviously, if Michael is there and doing it, you can argue the point that he's meant to, you know, again.
We know from Grave Peril that if the sword is used in the wrong way, it's not going to keep being a holy sword.
Well, that's
so we know every time he's worked with Harry, obviously God hasn't been against that, or the sword would have gone kaput. Right?
Well, I was going to say, there is that, because, yeah, there's still bad guys, it's still the supernatural evil that Michael is going up again. It's just not necessarily, you know, the Lord's top priority.
Yeah. So I think Charity's whole thing is a lot more fear-based than actually like that it's not sanctioned by God.
She's like you put ripples in the pond kind of a thing, you know?
Which is fair.
Which is totally fair. I mean, again, right? At the very least, we can all argue that, you know? Like, sure, our significant others or whatever, you know, why don't you like the best friend or the, you know? Because on your own, you're fine. When you two get together, you do stupid shit. You know? And it's not that that person is necessarily a bad person. I just don't like when you guys get together and do dumb shit or whatever, you know? So again, Charity doesn't necessarily think that Harry's not doing. I mean, she knows again, if she thought Harry was that bad, she wouldn't let Michael go anywhere near him with a 10-foot pole. And again, I think she knows that Michael would not associate with. But again, it's just that, yeah.
I mean, she does go into it, like, because Dresden cuts himself while tending to...
Yes, because now it's his turn to cut carrots like a teenager in a slasher film.
Yeah, and so Charity does sort of tend to him and help him with his cut. And Harry asks her why he didn't just lie And just
Yeah.
just get him out of the way because she doesn't like him. And she does explain to him, despite her dislike, she wouldn't abandon her beliefs or betray her husband. She continues to explain that because Harry is Michael's friend, she'll support him despite her dislike and not allow Michael's heart to be broken in any way. Like, she's so devoted to Michael that it doesn't matter what.
Yes, and putting her trust in him too. Because like you say, if she legit thought that Harry was just bad news through and through, she would protect Michael the same way she would protect her children would, right? So she trusts that if Michael sees something and feels he should be helping him, yeah, okay, and yeah, Harry is out there fighting the ghosts and the demons and the things like that, But exactly, it's just the methods aren't the same, you know what I mean? Is you're not coming to it from the same place. Again, it's a little bit like the difference between, say, a cop and a private eye and a vigilante. You might all be doing the same thing for the same purpose, but you can stand behind and support the cops. You're not supposed to stand behind and support the vigilantes.
Well, it's a little bit like the backers, too. So she's used to seeing Michael work with Shiro and Sonia, who have the same backer, God.
Yeah.
Whereas, even though he's still doing God's work when he works with Harry doesn't have the same backer because he is...
Well, and that's the thing, right? He's not taking all of the jobs for the same reason and the same, right? So you're like, again, ultimately, sure, we're going to take down a bad guy. And I mean, again...
I think it affects the sort of the balance for him.
We saw it in Grave Peril, right? Michael's like, I'm not going to do anything that's outside my morals. And Harry's like, hey, no, there's going to be shit going on. And there's going to be some feeding. We're just going to have to let that slide because we're not here for that. And Michael's like, no, if I see it, I'm stopping it.
Well, it seems a little bit like a teeter-totter.
It is a little bit, but that's the thing, right? Like,
so the further
ultimately, they're there to stop the vampires, right? Ultimately, Harry wants to stop all of them. Ultimately, Harry doesn't want those kids getting fed on. But Harry's like, we're going in way outnumbered to their shindig. Like, we're the invited ones. We have to. We got to play by their rules. And Michael is very much, I don't have to. I will play by my rules. If that means I help you out and you get what you want, great. If it means not, Harry, I love you. But, fuck you, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? And, right, because Harry's like, okay, fine, you know what I mean? And so, exactly, right? It's like...
Well, it's just full circle to remember that in this moment, Ortega has hits on the charity house and all the children, right? If Harry doesn't go to this
because, if he's gonna take out the random client that hired me, Michael and his family is definitely one of those close targets.
Well, 100%. So it's like Charity doesn't know that by telling Shiro to help Harry, like,
she's
helping yourself. Because, like...
Exactly.
Right? And so, obviously Harry didn't come in and was like, well, you better help me because you're going to be the one who are dead if you don't, right? Like, Harry didn't go in and do any of that, right?
Well, yeah, because that's not really Harry either, right? He doesn't want to threaten or coerce or bully or... unnecessarily, again, it's that fine line between keeping them informed and keeping them protected, like Murphy's like, I don't fucking need protection, I can, and it's like, but same thing, right? He doesn't want to freak them out and be like, oh yeah, so there's somebody probably watching you guys right now with a gun on every one of your kids, the ones that aren't home yet either.
Exactly, right?
You know what I mean? Like, he won't do that to her either, right? Like, so yeah, and I think it's a great thing there too, where again, he starts feeling like she's like, he's been hurt when he's out with you because you're pulling him away, like, this is side shit. And he's like, oh, so it's my fault? And she's like, it's not about fault, She's like, that's not why. I just worried because he's got hurt. And it just so happens, I'm just as worried if he gets hurt on his own jobs. But again, those are set up differently that as of yet, that hasn't happened. It's, and so yeah, exactly that whole, and he's like, well, you could have just got rid of me. And again, she's legitimately confused. And she's like, what? And he's like, well, you could have, like, lied. You could have told Shiro that Michael... And she's like, but he would help you, And again, I think it's great that it's not just Charity saying, well, I couldn't do that. That's not right. She's like, I wouldn't do... she's like, I don't like you, and I definitely don't respect you enough to compromise my beliefs and morals on your behalf. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, again, it's that standing up. It's that how good she is. And also, like, a fuck you to Dresden at the same time. You know what I mean? Where she's like,
so this is why I think the way that the chapter ends is so appropriate. So because she's tending to the cut, I hear they make disinfectants that don't hurt these days, but Charity used iodine. Like, this is perfect. This is perfect. She's going to help, but she is not going to make it easy on him.
She's not going to make it easy. She's not going to make it painless.
Right.
And again, and I think that
she's still there, but she's going to give him grief.
Well, and this is why I like the way Butcher has written the Carpenters. He writes them as very good people, very morally righteous, but they're also human.
Yes.
They're not the goody two-shoes you want to, like, smack. She's like, I will help you because it was the right thing to do, but I'm also going to use the fucking iron dye just to spite you because I know that'll hurt more.
Right.
You know? And yeah, exactly, right? That it's just that, yeah. Anyways, it's good. And it gives us a bit more into exactly why and how Charity is the way she is around.
Not being a bitch just for the sake of being a bitch.
Yeah, it's not just picking on her husband's friend. It's, yeah. She's got a lot on her plate because this is the first time we've met. We sort of know about all of them, but this is, again, other than baby Harry, now we're like, well, now we're meeting. Like, Molly's awesome. Molly's hilarious.
Hello, Carpenters.
Right? Like, yeah, exactly. It's like,
I like her.
kids are sarcastic and witty and, again, willing and able to do the right thing because, again, Molly's learned her place in the family is she's not bitching and whining about, she knows Mom just got home with the kids, I can help taking kids and groceries, you know, without having to be asked and nagged and whatever, right? So it's like, yeah, they're all just awesome.
They're good people.
Good people.
This concludes our episode 10.13, Handcuff Solutions. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling, conjure by and at your own risk.